Disney is desperate for Kenobi to be a success. They've pulled out all the stops when it came to the marketing plan, and they keep trying to spin it as Obi-Wan Kenobi's finale just broke a Star Wars viewership record. Everyone is watching this, they're all loving it, the hype is extreme, and so many people want to watch a show where everyone else is watching it. The problem they've got with Kenobi is the moment anyone watches it, they realize it's ass. And so you end up in this paradoxical world where apparently it's breaking Star Wars records and Star Wars is back on top. And also at the same time, you can't find anyone that actually enjoys the show. Like many of these situations, if you scratch away to get at the details, you find out this is simply a veneer of cope put forward by various different journalistic websites designed to spin a narrative. Of course, the problem is that the narrative keeps bumping heads with reality all the time. Like in this case, the record-breaking Obi-Wan Kenobi finale was actually just that it beat the Book of Boba Fett. Yes, Kenobi did 20% better at 1.8 million than Book of Boba's 1.5 million viewers in the same 5-day time cycle. You remember the Book of Boba Fett, that world-renowned, universally beloved show that got a 57% audience score and 66% from the critics. One of the few times where even the critics couldn't bring themselves to pretend that this show was actually good. And even then, Kenobi only beat it by 20%. 300,000 views over 5 days. Don't let facts get in the way of a good story, though, and on this channel, we all understand that most TV shows don't get good until season 3 anyway, so we really shouldn't be judging it off the quality of its first season. Obviously, that's a reasonable stance to take. Although I do like, if you look at the distribution of viewers, Seattle actually over-indexes for Obi-Wan Kenobi by 46%. With numbers like this, it's like Seattle is 2 years in the past, as everyone there seems to have simultaneously lost their sense of taste. And I have to ask, if we're supposed to believe that this is a record-breaking show that everyone loved around the world, it was a major success, then why are the people making it coming up with excuses about why it was bad? Because even from the same people, that's what we've got. Obi-Wan Kenobi's rushed production revealed by a show designer. Because apparently, for the most part, the series was actually fairly positively received. We've already started to really hedge our bets on that one, that for the most part, it was fairly positive. Well, I mean, it wasn't the worst show to exist on the face of the planet throughout all of time in the future. But sadly, there were still issues that dragged down the experience for some viewers. Because even though it had 6 episodes, and they were tiny episodes, and a sizable budget, many noted that the show felt cheap. And now a new interview seems to indicate that those involved with the project were under a rush schedule to get the show out. Even though this script was already written in movies and has basically just been adapted to a TV show by dragging it out with long looks across a desert, because apparently they had 90-odd days to film and 100 days to prep. And he says it seems like an incredible number, but you're moving so fast. That's 5.5 to 6 months of time, and on a 100-day shoot, we had about 100 plus sets, so that means that every day you have to design, build, paint, light, and finish a set. And obviously it's a bit more complicated than that, but when you actually start putting it on the calendar, it's a frightening level at which you have to check these boxes. And Disney is nothing if not obsessed with checking boxes, so you'd think they'd actually be good at that part, but apparently that's part of the struggle. This show's amazing, it's universally loved, it's breaking records all over the place, and if you don't like it, it's probably just because we rushed it a bit, but really, if you had good taste, you'd realize that this is a masterpiece. It's just a little bit rough around the edges, and if you think it's a bit more rough around the edges, well, Obi-Wan Kenobi's bad lightsaber battles were actually perfect. It was so awful, it was amazing, and also it's amazing and universally loved, and it's breaking records. And if you don't believe it was amazing, or rushed, or so bad it was good, then don't worry, we've got more excuses for you for that as well, as apparently it's just the original script's fault. Yeah, it's because we just changed the script. If we kept to the original script, it'd probably be better. I mean, Darth Vader originally won the fight with Obi-Wan Kenobi in his final battle. That would have fixed everything, because you see, the scriptwriter for the original movie trilogy talked about he convinced Lucasfilm to allow him to tell the story of Kenobi. There were 2 core ideas for Obi-Wan leaving Tatooine and coming face to face with Darth Vader, and he was told neither of those 2 things can happen. It seems like before the creation of Obi-Wan, Lucasfilm actually had someone who knew what they were talking about. Of course, Disney just decided to ignore that and go ahead anyway, because Beatty used Return of the Jedi to back up his claim, and got it entirely wrong. When Luke hands himself over to Vader, he says, "There's still some good in you, I still believe there's good in you," and Vader replies, "Obi-Wan once thought as you did." Now he says at no point do you ever see that happen, and Lucasfilm thought, "Oh, you're right! There must have been at some point, and that gave him the opening he needed to just crowbar himself a little gap that he could dive into, and then just start making up nonsense that didn't make any sense. Like he was doing when he convinced them, as he seems to have got the very famous quote of, "You were the chosen one, you were supposed to bring balance to the Force, not leave it in darkness," but apparently that's not thinking there was good in him at some point. Are you telling me that Obi-Wan trained Anakin for his entire life, and at no point thought there was good in him? Of course, at some point, Obi-Wan thought there was good at Anakin. He didn't expect him to turn to the dark side, otherwise he wouldn't have trained him. What kind of inane argument is this? Apparently, an inane argument that can get you paid to write 3 movie scripts, I guess, but there you go. But of course, if Darth Vader was going to win the fight, he has to think Obi-Wan is dead, so how on earth were they planning to get away with that one? Well, it seems that after Vader won the fight, they were fighting on a space station, and it was falling apart in the atmosphere of a planet, and Obi-Wan basically fell off. And when he says fell off, Vader pushed him off. I don't know, I've heard people say the movie scripts sound a lot better than the TV show we've got, but I just don't see it when Obi-Wan falls off a space station that's going through the atmosphere and, just floats down to the ground through the power of the Force, does he? He finds an umbrella on the way down and just starts coming down like Mary Poppins. I thought it was insane that Obi-Wan just let Vader live and walked off. I mean, at this point, you're just having a laugh. But of course, despite that, Kenobi was a massive success. Disney told us so, and they wouldn't lie to us. And obviously, with anything that's a success, you get merch. Big, major merch of all their major characters, like Tika the Jawa. Yeah, you remember him, don't you? That person that was in exactly 1 episode for about 30 seconds. You know, the person who sold Obi-Wan his own parts back and made him look like a little bitch. Yeah, what a wonderful contribution to the show you made. I'm so glad you're getting your own figure. And I'm sure that's going to sell boatloads, considering the massive contribution they've made to the series. Speaking of characters that made a massive contribution to the series, Reva also has her lightsaber on show from Star Wars. Given the huge success that everyone's bragging Kenobi is, this will absolutely annihilate the sales charts, and it's even been tweeted out by the main Star Wars account itself with 6 million followers. A new lightsaber and a sales pitch to 6 million followers, and it is an absolute sales pitch. As it leads to this page, which is supposed to be an interview, but is basically just bragging about how amazing it is, how complicated it is, and for some reason, they're very proud that their normal development cycle for a product like this is 12 to 18 months. It's some LEDs, a speaker, and basic motion sensors. I don't know why it takes you 12 to 18 months. At this point, you should be used to building lightsabers and just change the handle around a bit. But apparently, no, we're just going to take our time on this one. When you realize the slow pace that people in Hollywood are expected to work, you kind of realize why they think that 6 months of time is actually not long at all. I mean, at least they got a series out. Lucasfilm take 3 times as long just to build the lightsaber. But this sales page that went out to 6 million followers obviously made that lightsaber sell like absolute hotcakes. As you can see here, they've got a whopping 1,351 lightsabers. Yeah, a whole 1,000. I mean, they were even aiming for 5,000 themselves, and they've got what, eh? Hey, maybe they're going to get 4,000 in the last day, eh? Yeah, that's likely. It's worth pointing out that even if all of these came from that article, that's a 1 in 4,441 conversion rate. Congratulations, Star Wars. You really know how to sell a product. Reva's lightsaber is certainly something that everybody wants from your massively successful show. Of course, the Wayback Machine from June 8th does show that 1,000 of the backers actually already existed a month ago. So throughout the entire last month, they only got about 350 new people to actually sign up for this amazingly successful lightsaber. And that means that even if every single additional sale over the last month came from their sales pitch, then that's still a conversion rate of 1 in every 17,441 from their 6 million Twitter account. Congratulations, Disney. You really know how to market a product. And really, there's only a limited set of conclusions. Either Disney is awful at marketing, Kenobi is not a big, massive success, or Reva is just a character that not many people actually like, and every single one of those is something that Disney would despise. That's why we've got these 2 simultaneous realities of this is a show that's record-breaking, and for some reason, it's just no one's buying any of the merch, because we can't admit the truth, because that would mean that most of their staff's fundamental principles that they've put into the company over the last years are wrong. There's only really one way forward when you made a mistake this big. You've got to keep doubling down, and the journalists know that's what you're gonna do. This is why we get articles like 3 upcoming shows where Reva could appear next. And why would you not want such a popular character in every show that you actually make? And if a movie is hyped up enough, if a name or a brand is big enough, then a lot of people will just go and see that movie anyway, despite its quality. Thor: Love and Thunder is a terrible movie, and yet it's still making millions at the cinema, and that's what Disney is desperately trying to preserve for Star Wars, while simultaneously pumping out enough content to keep people around. It's all about whether we can get people to shut up about it, because people telling the truth just drags down the hype machine. I mean, at the end of the day, Obi-Wan Kenobi proves there's just no way to please the Star Wars fandom at this point. That's why there's so many comments on my video. If you don't like it, just don't watch it. Shut up, stop telling people the truth. You can't let on what this stuff actually is. Why don't you just let me lie to myself that this show is good in peace? Because they know that the truth breaks down all boundaries, and they know that their delusions are so fragile, and someone coming along and just giving an alternative opinion will entirely fracture their worldview on the subject, and so they need people to shut up, because they can't stand any alternative opinion, because even an alternative suggestion will shatter their carefully self-curated image of, no, actually, I think I do really enjoy this show, it's actually really good. Don't say it's bad! I can't handle it if you say it's bad! No, don't point out any of the flaws, you'll make me not like it. That's why we get articles like this from CBR. Obi-Wan Kenobi's biggest Reva mistake ruined her character arc. And what was Kenobi's biggest mistake when it came to Reva? It turns out it's because they think the audience is stupid. Because apparently, even those who aren't superfans can work out that Inquisitors are the younglings. The storytellers just didn't make it explicit enough. Yes, the problem with Reva is that the story just wasn't spoon-fed to the audience, which led to some fans lacking the needed context to make a connection to the character. Yeah, if you don't like Reva as a character, it's just because you were too stupid in the moment to actually understand the deep and meaningful plot that was being presented to you, even though the deep plot they're actually talking about, I think most people could have predicted in advance. So Obi-Wan Kenobi is incredibly popular, it's a massive success, it was rushed and that's why it's awful, and it's bad and that's why it's good, and if you don't actually like Reva and that's why you're not buying her lightsaber, it's only because you're too thick to do so, and if you're actually intelligent, then you'd go ahead and buy the lightsaber in the first place. Yes, these are the stories you get if you read the media and people wonder why no one takes them seriously anymore. But my favourite is where little fights break out. You see, Obi-Wan Kenobi gives new meaning to foregone conclusion. The problem with high drama stories meant to be filled with suspense is that we just know exactly what's happening and where it's all going to end up, which is perfectly reasonable. One of the few sane headlines in The Gamer is that Obi-Wan Kenobi's non-existent states ruined the show for me. I get it, it makes a lot of sense. Until you come to Collider, how Obi-Wan offers high stakes without risking its leads' lives. The series centers on emotional depth rather than survival. Ignore the terrible chase scenes or the bad lightsaber fights that were simultaneously amazing for some reason apparently, and what you end up with is a show with the emotional depth of a duck's backside, and for some reason, that's why it's good. I'm not sure what emotional depth you're supposed to have. Obi-Wan's connection to Leia. Oh, Leia, you're so amazing. You should just be in everything in the future. From this show forth, if only we could remake everything just for you. Although, thinking about it, if that was their plan, that would be enough to reduce a lot of Star Wars fans to tears, so, they'd get their emotional depth, alright? Maybe that's why people are writing about all the ways that Kenobi enhances Star Wars A New Hope. Because this was such an emotionally deep and complex and beloved story that no one's buying any merch for, that it can obviously enhance that original trilogy that, let's face it, probably no one really liked in the first place anyway. Oh, Disney's the best. Disney movies, it's all about them. I mean, the Disney show makes the original movie more powerful than you could possibly imagine. Nobody liked it before Kenobi came out, and now everyone loves it. You see, Leia was already confident and full of life when the series begins, but by the end, she has earned a holster. If that doesn't get you invested in the original trilogy now, nothing will in my eyes. But let's face it, if it's enhancing the original trilogy that much and making a group of films that probably no one really liked anyway. Did anyone even see Star Wars? I think about one guy in Timbuktu somewhere probably saw it, but everyone else, no, it's not like Star Wars was a major brand before Disney came along. I think we can all agree on that. So wait, we might as well just reboot them. Why don't we just reboot A New Hope? That'll be a great plan. I mean, Obi-Wan Kenobi is such a massive success that isn't selling any merch that we should just improve everything in the future by making it all the same pile of sludge. The established Star Wars canon leaves little room for the exploration of Obi-Wan Kenobi's character So we might as well just get rid of it and start from scratch. I mean, hey, let the past die. Kill it if you have to. But while you're at it, you might as well murder the future as well. That way you can just write a new one. If you want an article which is actually trying to be complimentary, but is the best example of how little faith anyone has in Disney's creativity, then it's this one. Seriously, we all know Disney can't create anything new, so they might as well destroy what's in the future and just remake that. And that's the level that Star Wars has been reduced to. People desperately trying to come up with titles that, no, this Star Wars is still good, you should all watch Star Wars, and even then, they end up passively insulting Disney. And those kind of narratives, where you're simultaneously supposed to believe that this is an amazingly successful, record-breaking show, and then you get articles like that, are such polar opposites of each other, that it's really amazing that anyone's even trying to make it stick in the first place. And that's probably how I end up agreeing with the gamer for twice in the same video. It is definitely a first. That Obi-Wan Kenobi says hello there to a bleak future for franchise entertainment. His biggest moments were all retreads of earlier Star Wars beats. Franchise entertainment can be much better than this. Quite frankly, any entertainment could be much better than this. I could put up a puppet show behind my desk and be more entertaining than Obi-Wan was. The Gamer is a website which says the MCU needs to stop listening to its fans. And even they can see the writing on the wall for Obi-Wan Kenobi and Star Wars. And I wouldn't mind if we could all just get together and agree on something. You could just watch it and go like, yeah, there's problems here. But instead, you get insanity. Like, no, the bad lightsaber battles were secretly perfect. And you have to just wonder, what on earth were you thinking when you decided to write that title? And despite the reality of the situation, I guarantee there's people on Twitter going around touting that title. Oh, it's the best Star Wars finale of all time. It beat Boba Fett. I don't really know what more I have to say. Never has a more impressive feat been achieved. And the only aim seems to be trying to retroactively change people's opinion about the show. Oh, everyone's saying it's good. Maybe I was just wrong in my initial opinion. Because we don't even need to get them to like the show. We just need them to give Star Wars enough of a chance to watch the next piece of Star Wars. Andor's coming soon. Yeah, let's give that a go. That'll probably be way better, I'm sure. Because I can't see any other benefit to them. It's certainly not making the money. It's not making the merch. They sold 1,351 of these. They spent 18 months designing it. Yeah, sure, I can only imagine they're on a go slow when they did it. But they still got paid to actually do it. But this is how the hype machines operate. As long as we can get you excited for next product, then that's what you're going to go and see. Because everybody wants to go and see what everyone else is going to see. People don't like to be left out. When Marvel took off, everyone was seeing Marvel. And so everyone just saw the next Marvel movie, despite whether they're even interested in the superhero at all. And with things like sunk cost, just because you've already watched the rest of Star Wars, you can watch the next one. I'm sure this time it'll fix it. So Disney has a vested interest in keeping the hype machine going, telling you that this is a record-breaking, majorly successful TV show, just to try and get everyone to believe it, and then see the next one. And other websites have a vested interest in doing it because they want you to see the next one as well, because they're going to be talking about it, and they can't talk about it if nobody is interested in the thing. So no, it's all good. It's all good. Even when it's bad, it's actually good. And of course, if you don't like the characters, then it's just because you didn't understand them. It's on you. Everyone else did. Everyone else understood them. They're all buying her merch. Don't worry. No, it's just an attempt to make people feel on their own, isolated, as if they're the unusual ones, because then they'll shut up. A lot of people don't want to speak out against something on their own. They like to feel as if they're part of a group. Speaking out on your own is intimidating. You might get a mob after you. That's the entire purpose of the mobs on Twitter, to make you feel as if you're the one in the wrong, so that you'll either say you changed your opinion, or at least just shut up and go away, and not influence the mass delusion that everyone else is trying to be under. Of course, the problem is, the longer this goes on, the further the quality drops. And the lower quality drops, the lower standards are allowed to drop, the more obvious it becomes to people, and the more the lie just can't actually be held up anymore. The veneer keeps getting thinner, because the only thing that is required to disprove any of it is to actually just watch the thing. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours down in the comments below. Like the video if you like the video, subscribe. More videos like this in the future, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.